Well, welcome, boys and girls, to my shop. I know it's a mess, but it's for working in, not for looking at. So, thanks so much for looking at my channel. Today we're going to be reviewing this Everstart 1200 amp JumpBox. It's pretty special. This is my old JumpBox that's not working so good anymore. And we'll look at some differences and kind of check all this out. It's difficult to really evaluate a JumpBox without having something that needs to be jumped. It's kind of like reviewing a fire extinguisher and not putting a fire out. You really don't know how well it's going to work until you use it. And I don't have anything that needs to jump right now. But we'll look at all the features and all the special things it does and do some comparisons. And I'll hook it up to the battery in Ye Olde Mustang and see what it looks like when you hook it up and what it tells you and that sort of thing. So anyway, so here it is. Show you the box. I just took it out of the box. Show you the box it came in. It tells you all the stuff about it. It on the front here, it's 1200 amp jump start, which that's going to spin your motor over pretty good. The amount of amps normally pulled on a starter is going to be around 450 amps, something like that. So I mean, if that initial when you turn the key. So 1200 amps is pretty good. 500 watts of AC power. Got a little AC plug here that you can plug stuff in. And I thought, well, what would I use 500 watts or 500 watt light bulbs? That's that gives you an idea of how much power that is. It's not a lot. And I thought, well, what would I use this for, 500 watts? And this is what came to mind. This is the battery charger for, I've got one of those little 6-inch chainsaws. Oh man, that thing is great. And this is the battery charger for that little 6-inch chainsaw. So let's say I'm out at the barn or something and I'm trimming the bushes and that sort of thing, and my battery gets a little low. It only takes 55 watts to charge that battery. So this, I think, that's the first thing I thought of that I could use this for. I checked my impact wrench. My impact wrench is a plug-in-the-wall impact wrench. It takes 7 amps to run the impact wrench to break loose a lug nut. So this only has 5 amps, 500 watts, 5 amps. It's probably not going to break that lug nut loose. So that gives you an idea of how much power you've got in that. Then you've got this cute little light here, and it turns around so you can do different things on it. And I would think that the idea might be with that because it also has a tire pump. And so here's my thought. I'm on the side of the road changing the tire, I put my spare on, and I can see that it's low. It's not flat, but it's low on air. So I get out my JumpBox and I'm trying to hook this up to the tire in the dark. I've maybe got a flashlight in my mouth, but I can turn on this and put it where I need it, and then I can screw the little hose on there, and I can use this pump then to pump up my tire. And maybe we'll hook it up to a tire and see what that sounds like and how well that works. Perhaps also maybe the screen will tell us how much air is in there. And then there's 3 USB jacks here for like charging telephones and stuff. Your average USB charger is 2 amps or less. I've got quite a few that are just 1 amp. You know, the little, we call them a wall wart. You plug it into the wall and then you can charge up stuff with it. And most of those little things are 1 amp, 1.5 amp. 2 amps is one of the biggest ones I've seen in the small chargers. And this is 3.1. So this is going to do a good job of charging your stuff, but one of the things you want to be careful of when it's charging at that level of 3.1 amps is some of the phones, the charger that came with it, let's say it was 1.5 amp, and you double that with a 3.1 amp charger, that battery could get hot. And you know how the story is with lithium batteries getting hot. So you might want to, when you're charging it, you might just pick the phone up and hold it in your hand and see if it's getting hot. And if it is getting hot, get enough charge to go and unplug it. Don't hold it in there and get 100% all at once, because if that lithium battery is getting hot, it can destroy the battery and cause it to swell up and things like that, and you don't want to do that. So be aware, that's a pretty hot charger for a lot of the cell phones. Okay, well, what else we got? This button turns this plug on and off. This button turns the air compressor on, and this button turns these USBs on, and this button is the one you push to when you hook up to start your car. So let's take this over and hook it up to the battery in my Mustang and see what it tells us. Okay, I've got it sitting under the hood of the Mustang here, and one thing I noticed is these aren't very long. That's about as close as I could get that thing to the battery and have some place to set it, and it just does reach over there. So we'll hook that on there, and we'll hook up the negative one. Okay, and hit the jump starter button. Now, can you see that? Whoop, it turned itself off. I guess I didn't try to start it soon enough. So what I'm noticing though, it doesn't tell me what the voltage in my battery is. It tells me what the voltage is in here. And there it goes, it turned off again. Okay, let me do something else here. Okay, I got my trusty voltmeter and I hooked it up to the battery. Let me come over here to the screen. 13.18 volts. So my battery is fully charged, 13.18 volts. And when I hook the JumpBox up to it, it doesn't say anything. And then when I turn on the jump starter, it says 12.7 volts. So it's telling me what the power is in this, not the power in my battery. Why is this important? Well, if my battery was down to like 8 volts or so, it's really going to pull on this thing. This might start it. I mean, with a 1200 amp jump start, it might start it with the battery that's completely dead and probably not going to charge back up and not going to work again if it's that low. But I don't know, because it doesn't tell me what voltage is in there, and I really thought that it would. I hate to say this, being the guy that I am, and I don't want to read manuals, but that's what I'm going to go do. I'm going to go see what the manual says about that, and I'll get back to you here in a minute. Alright, so I actually read the manual. I did not read the 6 pages of safety instructions, but I read using it to start your car, and I'm assuming at this point that it doesn't show anything when I connect it to my battery, because the battery in my car at 13.14 volts, it's still showing that. The battery in my car is hotter than the battery in this thing, and so it can see that it's not needed, and so it's not showing anything. That makes sense to me. Everything's, has microprocessor control now, but it doesn't even show that I have the cables connected. According to the manual, your battery needs a jump. You hook the cables up to it, and it has little icons that indicate, oh, there's another problem, has little icons that indicate that the cables are connected properly. And so it's not even showing that. So I'm assuming it's not showing anything because my battery is in great shape, and so it doesn't need to show anything. I wish I had a low battery that I could hook up and let you see that. But anyhow, so that's a little bit of a negative, that and I don't know if it's a negative, because I honestly don't know if it's going to show us. Nothing in the manual that I read indicated that it showed the battery that's being jumped, that it showed the voltage in the battery that's being jumped. And so I think that's a little bit of a negative on this thing. The other part that I think is a little bit of a negative is how short these cables are, because you've got to get really close to the battery to hook them up. And so I don't know, it depends on where your battery is and where you're going to set this thing. I just don't know. But anyway, again, it's very difficult to review and test one of these without a dead battery or a weak battery to test it on. So let's look at other features. Okay, so what I've done, using a pressure gauge, I checked the pressure in my tire. It was fine, and I let about 5 pounds out. And so now I'm going to use the air compressor in the JumpBox to see what it takes to do that. So here's the hose, and you can see there's the valve stem there. Now I'm going to turn on the LED light, and you can see it's not, you can get it aimed where you want it. I can get it aimed where I want it, but I got the hose on it is real short. It's very much like the leads, trying to get that into a good spot, and I really can't do that. So I'm going to turn that back off, and I'm going to put this where I can see it, and then, okay, that'll hook up. So let's go ahead and hook this up. Heard a little bit of air woof out of there. Okay, so now we're going to turn on the air, and it's set to 50 pounds. Okay, so it's showing me how much pressure is in the thing. That's good. And it's set to 50 pounds. So, oh. So I want 32 pounds. Oh, it went to 31. Come on. Okay, 32 pounds. All right, so now I guess we hit the go button. So there it is. Okay, I'm going to step away from that noise and sit back up here, and I'm going to back out and come back when it's close, and I'll give you a time frame of how long it took. Okay, you can see it's flashing 32. I set it to 32, and you can see it used 25% of the battery to do that, and it took, let me look at my watch, it took 6 or 7 minutes to take it from 24.5 pounds up to 32, and it shut off when it got there. So that's pretty good. Not disappointed in that at all. It's loud, but all those little compressors are loud. So here's what I'm going to do. I want to be fair and give it a real test. So I'm going to turn the lights on the Mustang and leave them on for a while and run that battery down on purpose, and then hook this up and see what kind of display we get when we do that. Because it should work just like it did on the air compressor, where the air compressor showed that it was 24.5 pounds, and then it ran up to 32 and shut off. Right now the battery level is showing 12.5 volts, where before it was 12.6, but the bar indicator indicates that it's 25% down. So anyway, that's what I'm going to do, and I'll get back to you when I'm ready to hook it back up to the battery and see what we get. Check it later. All right, I'm back. It's a little after 8 o'clock in the evening, and what I did was I turned the lights on in the the light's on in the car, and I left it on, well, left it on for about 4 hours or so. So now we're going to hook this up and see what it says. The battery should be at least a volt lower. You know, you might remember it was at 13.6. I mean, it was really charged up. And so we'll if I can get the darn cable. Hold on a second. Alright, so I got it hooked up, and you can see it's still showing the voltage of the battery in the JumpBox rather than the voltage of the battery in the car. At least that's what I believe it's showing. So let me do this. I'm going to unhook the JumpBox, and it should turn off there in just a second. And I'm going to get my little test thing and read the voltage. Okay, let me see. Can you see that? My little dashboard test. So the voltage in the battery is 11.6 volts, and the voltage displayed on the JumpBox was still 12.7. So it's not letting you know what the voltage in your battery is. It's not measuring that, and I'm a little disappointed that it doesn't do that, because you'd be wasting your time if, well, I don't know, with 1200 amps it would probably still start the car even if the voltage was down to 8 volts or something. But anyway, so that tells us about that function. It does not measure the voltage in the car. It just shows what's in the JumpBox. So, okay, well, that's very interesting. I think that wraps up this review. I think from here I'll need to edit it out and put it together and list the good points and the bad points. A couple of things that I don't care for is the shortness of these cables for jumping the battery. That light on there, I don't really see a whole lot of use for that, and the fact that it doesn't show the voltage of the battery. It's still a pretty good power box. It's got that 115 volt or 120 volt AC plug, which you could use to charge batteries for drills and things. The USB for charging your phone, and then the pump. We saw the pump worked real well, and I'm sure the jump part would work real well too. It just doesn't tell you what the voltage of your battery is before you do it. So anyway, that's going to probably wrap this up. Catch you later.